Can my 7-year-old ask you about tornadoes? So my son has high-functioning autism and he is obsessed with tornadoes. He is 7 and constantly pesters his mom and myself with questions. I know the basics, but I am hoping that the more knowledgeable of you can provide more correct answers that I can simplify for him. And any other super cool facts would be super appreciated. Tornadoes. How do tornadoes create a vortex? How are their winds so strong? How do tornadoes form their eye? Is the center of the tornado the strongest part? How do tornadoes crush items that it sucks up? This is actually right up my alley as I study atmospheric science and have even done some storm chasing myself. If your son hasn't had the chance, I definitely recommend watching old TV shows like Storm Chasers from the Discovery Channel or Storm Chaser videos that come out on YouTube after every big tornado event. Also, the Weather Service has great resources such as Link with plenty of information. I've left out peer-reviewed sources since I don't imagine they're of much interest to a 7-year-old. When you see thunderstorms, you're seeing rising air fueled with energy from water condensing into the cloud we see. The rising air is called an updraft, and the thunderstorm has to continually suck in air from the surrounding environment to fuel it. If the winds in the atmosphere change direction with height, this can cause the core of the storm to rotate. A rotating updraft is called a mesocyclone. Now the tricky part is we actually don't have a complete theory for how these rotating updrafts form tornadoes. Some do, but most do not, and this is a topic of ongoing research. If we could figure this out, it would save many lives. Tornadoes rotate because the storm rotates. It's an extension of this updraft that reaches the surface. Most of the tornadoes we typically think of are produced by supercells, which are the strongest type of thunderstorm. These storms have towering cumulonimbus clouds, have a rotating updraft, mesocyclone, and are fueled by energy from the sun and water vapor and by strong winds in the atmosphere. Fun fact: a supercell's updraft can carry tornado debris to as high as 30,000 feet, after which it can fall out hundreds of miles away. Seeing this debris on radar is one of the main ways scientists such as those at the National Weather Service can see a tornado without actually being near the storm and warn the public. The height debris reaches is correlated very well with tornado strength and the strength of the thunderstorm updraft. The winds in tornadoes are so strong because the winds in thunderstorms are so strong. The speed of the updraft in a supercell can exceed 40 m, 130 feet per second, and air is drawn in rapidly to replace air that has risen. As air is drawn into a tornado and rotates around it, it speeds up much like an ice skater drawing their arms to spin faster. This is because of conservation of angular momentum. A tornado is basically a tiny low-pressure system, like a hurricane or your sink draining, and the winds increase toward the center similarly. Fun fact: we see clouds in tornadoes, called the condensation funnel, because the pressure decreases and water vapor condenses inside the vortex, but the tornado is bigger than the cloud, and a condensation funnel is not necessary for a tornado to exist and do damage. Tornadoes are not thought to have eyes, in the same way hurricanes do, but the wind speed at the center is 0. If you looked at a cross-section of a tornado, see the link in 4, the wind profile in a tornado increases as you move towards the center, but it can't go up forever. Near the center, it turns back towards 0 before increasing again on the other side. Any vortex has a calm center like this. In some ways, yes. The area near the center has the fastest winds, though the center itself has the weakest winds. Observed wind profiles from real tornadoes such as Link show this pattern. Typically, however, being in the center of a tornado's path is the worst place to be. As a tornado moves, the areas in the center of its path will spend the longest time inside, will experience the strongest winds twice, and will endure a complete 180-degree turnaround in violent winds. This does a lot of damage. Things damaged by a tornado typically are damaged by other things inside a tornado more than they are by the winds themselves. Most of the damage you see when a tornado hits trees or buildings is from debris picked up by the tornado and hurled around. This is actually a reasonably large issue in determining tornado strength. We rate tornadoes using the EF scale, from the weakest EF0 to the strongest EF5, but ratings are given based on damage caused. The widest tornado ever recorded, the El Reno OK tornado in 2013, was a staggering 2.6 miles wide and is often thought to be an EF5. Researchers nearby recorded nearly 300 mph winds, EF5 strength, inside the tornado using radar. but since we officially assess tornado strength by damage caused and the El Reno tornado was primarily in open fields, it ended up with only an EF3 rating. I hope this helps. I'd be happy to elaborate or answer more questions.